Not only has Mark Carney shamelessly stolen the idea of the carbon tax from Pierre Poilievre, but he admits that Pierre Poilievre is the better man for the choice by stealing his idea on the GST for new homes under $1 million. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. Well, it seems that Mark Carney has admitted that he cannot handle being Prime Minister of Canada. Not only has he stolen Pierre Poilievre's idea on the carbon tax, or at least half of his idea, he's now taken his idea on axing the GST on new homes under $1 million. He's released it from the Prime Minister's desk on the internet. I mean, how far down do you have to be in your own shame to just blatantly steal somebody else's platform idea like that? I mean, the vulgarity of it on the face of it is just shocking. Now, when we look a little closer, we can see that it speaks volumes about Mark Carney and his belief in his own ability. If he was so smart, if he was Mr. I'm going to save everybody from all of these emergencies, he would have his own ideas. He wouldn't need to steal the Conservatives' ideas. Maybe Mark Carney just wants to be a Conservative. Maybe he's going to walk the floor. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe he just feels like if he runs as a Conservative, he has a better opportunity to get a seat. We'll get into that here. Let's just take a look at the release that's come out of the Prime Minister's desk. Before I read this, I want to give a shout out to Maureen who turned me on to this story. You know who you are. Okay, so here we are, the Prime Minister of Canada Mark Carney. Prime Minister Carney will eliminate GST for first-time homebuyers. March 20th, 2025, from Edmonton. Canada is in a housing crisis. Demand has gone up, supply has not kept pace, and prices are too high. The new government of Canada is taking immediate action to address this crisis. Prime Minister Carney today announced that the government of Canada will eliminate the goods and services tax, GST, for first-time homebuyers on homes at or under $1 million. The cut will save Canadians up to $50,000, allowing more young people and families to enter the housing market and realize the dream of home ownership. By eliminating the GST, Canada will face lower upfront housing costs and keep more money in their pocket. Eliminating the GST will also have a dynamic effect on increasing supply, spurring construction of new homes across the country. You know, I know, Mark Carney, that I know, because Pierre Poilievre has been telling us that for 6 months. Pierre Poilievre has been saying since at least October of last year when he announced this as part of his platform, and he mentioned it just a couple days ago when he was in Sudbury. So we know all of this stuff. We've already been told all of this stuff because the Conservatives are running with this as part of their platform, and I think you should be ashamed of yourself. The Prime Minister is laser focused on stealing all of the Conservatives' ideas. The Prime Minister is laser focused on lowering costs that will continue to present serious solutions to ensure Canadians are better off. The Government of Canada will confront the housing crisis head on and build the strongest economy in the G7. Quote. He even released a quote. Come on. Our government is laser focused on lowering costs for Canadians and making home ownership a reality. Eliminating the GST will save first-time home buyers up to $50,000 and spur housing construction across the country. We will announce a series of new measures to increase housing supply shortly. Like everything with the Liberal Party, it's just around the corner. I suppose they're probably going to wait for Pierre Poilievre to tell them what to say, and then they'll announce that. It's time for focused action to solve the housing crisis, and it's time to build the Canada we can afford. The Right Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, and I mean Right Honourable at this point seems really pushing the word. But, I mean, what can you do? I didn't write it. I'm just reading it. I don't think that Mark Carney should have mentioned, like, this is on the one hand, you look at it on the face of it and you think to yourself, wow, Mark Carney is without shame that this is supposed to be the right honorable individual who quite literally stole something from another politician and trying to pass it off as his own. Somebody, before you tell yourself that when there was no official announcement from Pierre Poilievre, I assure you, it was October of last year that I have a video of him that we can look at here in a minute. But before I cut to that, I just want to leave this thought in your mind. Is Mark Carney really just saying that I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm just going to take all of Pierre Poilievre's ideas? Or is it more accurate to say that Mark Carney believes that Pierre Poilievre knows how to solve the problem. That Pierre Poilievre is the guy that will bring Canada the solutions that Canada needs. Because the Liberals caused the housing crisis. There's been all kinds of problems with the housing crisis. So now this is two ideas that Mark Carney has blatantly plagiarized from Pierre Poilievre. I found a clip from when Pierre Poilievre made the announcement last year. It was dated October 28th. It was aired by CTV News, and I kept just enough of it for us to get the gist of what the announcement was, because it went on for about 10 minutes, but I kept, a minute of it so that you could hear the official announcement by the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, on cutting the GST for all new homes under $1 million.
Including the GST. The GST, which adds $50,000 to the cost of $1 million home. It's a 5% federal tax. It was supposed to be indexed. You used to have a rebate on the first $450,000 of a new home back when the GST was instituted 3 decades ago. That threshold was supposed to go up every year, but it didn't. And now, good luck trying to get a house for $450,000. You can't find anything for that after 9 years of Trudeau. So everybody basically is paying GST on their new home. The GST was not meant to apply to the basic necessities of food and housing. That's why the exemption existed in the first place. It is also why today I am announcing that a Pierre Poilievre-led common sense Conservative government will axe the sales tax on new homes under $1 million. This will save about $40,000 on a new home of $800,000. That would mean a savings every year of $2,200 in mortgage payments. Getting rid of the GST on new home builds will stimulate 30,000 additional homes built every single year, which incidentally will actually generate more income tax revenue for the government without raising rates. That will help cover the cost of the tax cut. But we will also cut bureaucracy. We're going to cut the programs that Liberals themselves admit haven't built any homes.
Well, there you have it. That was October of last year. And you could tell by Pierre Poilievre was wearing a poppy. So there's no denying, no arguing that it was an idea stolen completely from Pierre Poilievre. So here we have Mark Carney taking the tax from Pierre Poilievre. And now we have Mark Carney take the GST from Pierre Poilievre. And he says that he's laser focused and that he's going to be building more homes. But of course, he has no idea. He thinks that modular homes are somehow going to solve the problem. They want to give all the, $8 million home contract to this one guy who has 3 or 4 factories around the country. He doesn't understand how to build a home. He has no idea how to do any of that. It seems that he is waiting for Pierre Poilievre to tell him what to do next. It seems that he just wants to be the deputy prime minister under Pierre Poilievre. Because Pierre Poilievre's ideas are working. And you can hear from when Pierre Poilievre made this announcement, not only did he talk about how it was going to help people buy homes, but he talked about how it was going to stimulate the economy and how, because of that stimulation, it was going to increase the tax revenue for the federal government without ever changing the tax base for me and you. So that people like us wouldn't have to feel the pinch of the increased taxes like the Liberals put on. Imagine what it will be like when Mark Carney gets out of the way and Pierre Poilievre can reduce the tax of the carbon tax, meaning that we can cut down trees and plane the trees and cut the trees and do all the things that are required to get them to the lumber yard so that people can put them together and buy a house with them. Imagine how cheap it'll be to pour a foundation when there's no when there's no carbon tax on the foundation, on the concrete that goes into the foundation. Imagine when Pierre Poilievre destroys the carbon tax and the truck that can deliver the goods to build the house put fuel in itself for a lot less money. Imagine when all the guys that show up at the work site can work for just a little bit less because the gas that's going into their truck is a little less expensive. And as they build these houses and houses become more and more abundant, how rents will bottom out and people will be able to live in a decent house without having to pay through the nose. Imagine a world where Pierre Poilievre's ideas are all put together instead of Mark Carney just stealing his ideas. The thing about stealing somebody's idea is that you can't flesh it out. You have no idea what to do with it. So he's basically just going to say these things and to hope that you elect him. And then he will go back to what he knows best, which is taxation, 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 and traveling around the world on your tax dollar. I've heard that it's $300,000 he spent flying around Europe. He's been in as prime minister less than a week. He's stolen 2 ideas from the Conservatives and spent 300,000 tax dollars putting fuel into a jet, all the while claiming that carbon tax is his big thing. And he wants to destroy the petrochemical industry. So now what we're looking at is me and you on rollerblades in the snow, eating crickets while he flies around from mansion to mansion with his, 45 servants in tow, all paid for by our. Of course, he doesn't have any idea how to repair the economy. So he'll be borrowing or he'll be selling all of our natural resources to the highest bidder, who will be somebody from America in all likelihood, because they're going to be the ones with all the money. I think this is a disgusting display. I think that a Prime Minister of Canada should have much more honor than to blatantly steal somebody else's idea. I think that somebody is supposed to be who wears the title of Right Honorable should just resign. He should just say, you know what? It turns out that I am not going to be good at being a leader in Canada. That it turns out that the reason that I've spent my whole life avoiding politics is because I suck at it. I can't stop yelling at the press corps, even though I'm the one that pays them, and they keep asking me questions that are humiliating to me. I'm sure Mark Carney is telling himself that the best thing he can do right now is to go hide in one of his warm tropical islands like Justin Trudeau used to do every time he screwed it up. I mean, this is a clear indication that not only does this is basically Mark Carney endorsing Pierre Poilievre. Mark Carney has endorsed Pierre Poilievre to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. He has said that it doesn't matter that Trump picked me, I am picking Pierre Poilievre because Pierre Poilievre is the guy with all the right ideas. Pierre Poilievre knows what it's doing. Pierre Poilievre is probably going to be able to fix the economy much better than I because I have screwed up the economy 2 times in 2 different countries, and I don't really know how to stimulate the economy. I only know how to funnel money from the bottom to the top. I don't understand that to stimulate the economy, the money must flow the other way. I don't understand any of that because I'm Mark Carney and I live in this little bubble where nobody dares to tell me anything, and I have never in my life had to struggle. So he doesn't understand even the basic. He has to steal all of the ideas from the Conservatives, and he does so without shame. He's been at the job a week. And look at the disasters that have come out of his mouth. This guy is not qualified, people. I know it's going to hurt your feelings if you're out there on the far left, but you still have Jagmeet. You can throw him in as the leader of the opposition. I mean, he's not very competent, but at least he has more dignity than Mark Carney. At least he's not blatantly running around trying to steal other people's ideas and pass them off as his own. At least he's not trying to act like he knows what he's doing when he clearly doesn't. Well, you know what I mean. He's not trying to tell you that by taking somebody else's idea, that's an indication that he knows what he's doing. So, I mean, you still have him you can vote for. Though if you were smart, if you cared about your future, if you cared about how much money you have in your bank, if you cared about the lifestyle that you wanted to live, you would vote for the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is the only party that's going to get the government out of your hair, is the only party that's going to provide you with the means to buy things at a decent rate. Conservative Party is the only party that's going to build Canada and not worry about what they're doing in France and worry what they're doing in the UK and worry what they're doing in Lord knows where else. So that means that no matter what lifestyle you live, the Conservatives are going to let you live it, and you're going to be able to do it with more money in your pocket. You're going to be able to do it without being told that by questioning Mark Carney, you have to look inside yourself. But that's just my opinion. You can leave me your opinion down in the comments. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.